Bienvenue à tous. It's time now for our international press review here on France 24 in the papers today with Marion Hembest. Marion, lots of coverage of the cyclone.
Yes, that's right. And the German online paper Der Spiegel decides to show a whole photo gallery of some of the devastation that's been caused by the cyclone in Burma. We've seen pictures of villages completely flattened. We know that at least 350 people have been reported killed. There's been winds of up to 190 kilometres per hour and just total destruction. And yet it seems that the ruling military junta are not overly enthused about quickly getting international aid into the country. The UN's still waiting to hear whether it's got the go-ahead for its relief support scheme that it wants to bring in. It seems that the junta are more interested in making sure that their referendum on the 10th of May on a new constitution for Burma is still going to be going ahead. And they say that that is to make sure they can have multi-party elections in 2010, but critics are accusing them of just really wanting to continue their rule over the country. So a bit of a catastrophe going on there. And the title of the article, Cyclone in Burma throws military junta's master plan into disarray, as there's confusion there on what's going to happen in the next few days.
Okay, what's next?
Well, we've also been looking at changes in Cuba, and La Croix, the French press, says that Cubans really want to see change now that they want to turn the page now that Fidel Castro has officially resigned in February. And there's a special report in Cuba in this paper. Basically, it's an atmospheric piece talking about the camel buses in Havana, the very famous buses that you'd see packed with people at a certain time, now empty as the metro buses have been moved in. Transport has been a really big theme for Raul Castro as he's taken over as leader of Cuba. And he's really been getting his hands-on approach into making sure discussion groups are set up, that people can discuss how to improve transport in the future. But some of his other policies have been less enthusiastic. They've been more symbolic. Things like allowing people to have mobile phones and use hotels, whereas before it was just tourists that were using hotels. But as I said, this is rather symbolic because, in fact, too expensive for the majority of Cubans to use anyway. They're hoping to see some real policies thrown out in the next few weeks and months to come.
So, changes afoot in Cuba. I'm looking forward to seeing Cuba's boxers in the Olympics coming up. They should be usually quite exciting stuff, and if they ever turn pro, that would be a major thing for sport. What's next on the agenda today? Well,
another special report, this time from Liberté Algérie, the Algerian paper. And the title of that article, Whether We Take a Boat or a Submarine, We Will Leave in June. Growing number of under-30s in Algeria who are gearing up for the invasion of Italy, as they call it, in June. Now, this involves them all getting onto a boat, going over to Italy's shores and leaving their country behind them. They've been working day and night to finance this trip, and they've been meeting in a port town called Annaba recently to discuss how this is all going to be taken off. Now, they choose June to leave their country because there's lots of tourists in Italy at that time. They hope that they can lose themselves amid the crowds. And the aim of all this is to join up with relatives and friends in France and the UK. So a sort of secret way of getting into the country there, but they have to watch out risky business, especially with Silvio Berlusconi coming back into power and having a very tough stance on immigrants there.
I wonder whether Sarkozy's plan for a Mediterranean Union would make their lives better.
Well,
and does it deal with that at all? No?
It doesn't talk about that, but that's an interesting question.
It's interesting that an Algerian paper isn't taking that actually serious, bringing that in to talk about it. It's quite an interesting fact, I suppose. Maybe it sort of lends weight or not to Sarkozy's argument. Finally, Boris Johnson, Boris the buffoon as they've dubbed him, but obviously he's not a buffoon, he's a very intelligent guy. He's the new mayor of London.
New mayor of London, and loving the publicity stunts, big personality as always, appearing in the British press this morning, wearing a police cap, a traditional bobbies, a police hat in London. It's officially his first day as mayor today.
Well, he's got the peak cap on then.
He's got the peak cap on, yes.
But I'm sure he had a go of it, because I'm sure he couldn't resist, you know.
Well, exactly.
He could not resist.
He had him on the Route Masters, now he's got the police hat. But it's his official first day today, and transport security is
funny how a guy who's as intelligent as him, you know, former editor of The Spectator, Far Right magazine, this kind of stuff, you know, sort of classic story from Oxford, plays the buffoon to get elected. It's funny, isn't it? What people do.
It worked.
What people will do for your votes. What we would do for your votes. Thank you for watching us. This is France 24. Stay with us. Cheers, man.